Have you ever wondered how to find peace and fulfillment as you grow older, even when faced with loneliness or change? Life is constantly evolving, and the challenges that come with aging can sometimes feel overwhelming. But what if the key to thriving in your senior years lies not in fighting change, but in embracing it fully? In this video, we'll explore 5 profound teachings from Buddhism that can transform the way you approach aging, solitude, and personal growth. You'll learn how to release attachments, accept the impermanence of life, and find deep inner peace, even when you're spending more time alone. By the end, you'll have powerful tools to navigate your golden years with confidence and joy. Stay with us, and discover how to cherish the present moment, reduce your dependence on others, and deepen your relationship with yourself. These timeless lessons will help you not just survive, but truly thrive in later life. So, if you're ready to unlock the secrets to a more peaceful and fulfilling old age, keep watching until the end. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. No impermanence. Shushu spoke with a serene voice, his words carrying the weight of wisdom gained through years of reflection. He began to share a foundational truth from Buddha's teachings with Taro, a concept that could transform his perspective on life: impermanence. Taro, he said gently, life in this human world is like a river, constantly flowing and changing. Nothing remains the same. This is what we call impermanence in Buddhism. Every joy we experience and every sorrow we endure will eventually fade, just as the seasons change. This truth applies to everything: youth, health, relationships, and even the bonds that tie us to the people we cherish most. To truly find peace, we must first understand and accept that nothing in life is permanent. Taro listened intently, the words awakening a cascade of emotions within him. He found himself drifting into memories of his younger years, a time when life seemed simpler, and the people around him felt like constants. He thought of his childhood friends, those who had once felt like family, their laughter echoing in the air as if it could last forever. He remembered the pride of watching his children grow, their tiny hands once reaching for his, now grown and leading lives of their own. Most vividly, he thought of the joyful days spent with his wife, their shared laughter, quiet evenings, and the deep sense of companionship that had once filled his days with purpose. But now, the landscape of his life had shifted. His friends had moved on, some separated by distance, others by time. His children, now adults, had carved out their paths, leaving behind the home they once shared. And his wife, the love of his life, was no longer by his side. These memories, once vibrant and alive, now lingered as bittersweet echoes in his heart. A wave of longing swept over Taro, but Shushu's words lingered in his mind, offering a glimmer of solace. As if sensing Taro's thoughts, Shushu continued, his tone warm and understanding. Impermanence, Taro, is not something to fear or mourn. It is a natural and inevitable part of life, and in its essence, it holds a profound beauty. Without impermanence, there would be no growth, no new experiences, and no opportunity to heal or find joy again. Change is what allows us to learn, to adapt, and to discover new parts of ourselves. The key to living peacefully is not to resist the changes, but to embrace them with an open heart. These words struck a chord deep within Taro. He realized how much energy he had spent clinging to the past, longing for things to remain as they once were. For so long, he had mourned the passing of time, viewing each change as a loss. But Shushu's wisdom opened his eyes to a different perspective. Instead of lamenting what had changed, he could focus on what these changes had taught him and what they might still bring. He thought about how his friends, though distant, had shaped him into the person he is today, teaching him the value of companionship and trust. His children, though no longer living under his roof, had brought him immense pride and joy, giving him a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And his wife, though gone, had filled his life with a love so profound that its warmth still lingered, even in her absence. These were not losses but gifts, reminders of the richness of a life lived fully. Shush's voice softened, yet it carried a note of conviction. Taro, think of life as a series of waves. Each wave rises, crests, and falls back into the ocean, only to give way to another. If we cling to one wave, trying to hold it in place, we miss the beauty of the next. Life is like this. Each moment and each change carries the potential for new joys and lessons. Accepting this truth will not only lighten your heart but also prepare you for the path ahead. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Taro felt a subtle shift within himself. It wasn't as though the ache of his memories had vanished, but there was a newfound understanding, one that made the ache feel less heavy, less overwhelming. He realized that impermanence was not an enemy to be fought but a natural rhythm to be embraced. It was what made life dynamic, what allowed him to grow stronger through adversity and to cherish fleeting moments even more deeply. As he gazed at the setting sun, its golden light spilling across the horizon, Taro made a quiet resolve. Instead of resisting the changes in his life, he would welcome them as opportunities for growth and renewal. He would cherish his memories, not with sorrow, but with gratitude for having experienced them. And he would look forward to the future with a heart open to the possibilities that change might bring. For the first time in a long while, Taro felt a sense of peace wash over him. The concept of impermanence, once a source of sadness, now felt like a gift, a reminder that life's beauty lies in its ever-changing nature. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Taro smiled softly to himself, ready to embrace the journey ahead, knowing that every ending carries the promise of a new beginning. 2. Let go of attachments. As Shushu's calm and measured voice filled the room, the weight of his words seemed to settle directly into Taro's heart. Taro, he began with a tone that carried both wisdom and compassion. In life, we attach ourselves to so much: our families, our friends, our material possessions, and even the fleeting strength of our youth. While these attachments may feel like sources of happiness, they often become the seeds of our deepest suffering. Buddhism teaches that letting go of attachments is not about abandoning what we love. It is about finding freedom from the fear of losing them. Taro sat quietly, his gaze drifting as the words stirred memories and emotions that had long been buried within him. His mind wandered to thoughts of his late wife, whose absence still felt like a sharp ache in his chest. He remembered their laughter, their shared dreams, and even their arguments, all the moments that had woven the fabric of their life together. He thought of his children, now grown and living lives of their own, and the bittersweet feeling of being both proud and painfully distant from them. He even thought of himself in his youth, filled with energy and confidence, a stark contrast to the quieter, more introspective man he had become. The truth in Shushu's words was undeniable. These attachments, while precious, had become chains. He realized he wasn't just holding on to memories. He was gripping them tightly, almost desperately, as if letting go would mean losing a part of himself. But in doing so, he had unknowingly allowed the past to overshadow the present. How many moments of peace or joy had he overlooked because his heart and mind were consumed by what had been, rather than what was? Shushu continued, his voice carrying the wisdom of someone who had walked this path before. Taro, letting go of attachment doesn't mean forgetting or abandoning what you cherish. It means learning to carry those memories with grace rather than clinging to them with fear. When you release that grip, you make space in your heart for new experiences, new joys, and even new people. It's not about erasing the past, but about freeing yourself to live fully in the present. These words struck Taro deeply. He realized that while his memories of his wife and his children were precious, they had become walls that confined him, preventing him from fully engaging with life as it was now. He thought about how he had resisted making new friends or trying new things, afraid that doing so would somehow betray the past he held so dear. But as Shushu spoke, Taro began to understand that the past wasn't meant to be a prison. It was meant to be a foundation, a source of strength from which he could grow and explore the world anew. As Taro reflected, he began to see how attachment had also crept into other aspects of his life. He had been holding on to the idea of who he used to be, a younger, stronger, more vibrant man. But clinging to that image only made him feel more distant from the person he was now. Could he learn to appreciate the wisdom and resilience he had gained over the years? Could he embrace the present version of himself, imperfections and all? Shushu, sensing the inner struggle Taro was experiencing, offered a reassuring smile. Letting go is not a single act but a practice, he said. It's something we must choose to do again and again, each day. It means acknowledging the beauty of the past without allowing it to define us. It means finding peace within ourselves, no matter what life brings. When you free yourself from attachment, Taro, you discover that life is full of endless possibilities, even in your later years. The idea both comforted and challenged Taro. He knew it wouldn't be easy to let go of the memories and identities he had clung to for so long. But he also felt a quiet determination begin to take root within him. Letting go didn't mean losing his wife, his children, or his youth. It meant carrying those pieces of his life with an open hand, allowing them to be sources of love and inspiration rather than weights that held him back. Taro began to think of practical ways to embrace this teaching. Perhaps he could start by letting go of small habits that tethered him to the past, like avoiding certain places or clinging to objects that no longer served him. He could focus on cultivating gratitude for the present moment, whether it was enjoying a quiet cup of tea, watching the sunrise, or striking up a conversation with a neighbor. For the first time in years, Taro felt a glimmer of hope and lightness. He understood that life wasn't about avoiding loss but about embracing change. By letting go of attachment, he could welcome new encounters, new lessons, and even new forms of joy. The memories of his wife and children would always remain, but instead of being chains, they could become gentle companions on his journey. Shushu's words lingered in Taro's mind long after their conversation ended. To let go, he thought, is not to lose, but to live. This realization filled him with a quiet confidence that he could face his future with an open heart, ready to cherish the present and all the beauty it had to offer. Letting go wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning of everything. 3. Reduce dependence on others. Shushu's voice was calm but carried the weight of wisdom as he began to share the third profound truth, the importance of reducing dependence on others. Taro, he began, there will always be moments when we long to lean on those around us. It's natural to seek the comfort and reassurance of family and friends in times of need. Their presence can feel like a protective shield against the hardships of life. But as you continue along the journey of aging, life begins to shift in ways you may not have anticipated. The people you rely on won't always be there, and when that time comes, dependence can turn into a profound sense of loneliness. That's why learning to stand on your own is not just a practical necessity, it's an emotional and spiritual one. Taro listened intently, his heart stirring with both understanding and unease. He thought about his growing reliance on his children. Over the years, they had become his go-to source for help with daily chores, cleaning the house, driving him to the hospital, or assisting with small tasks he once handled effortlessly. While his children always responded with love and without a hint of resentment, he couldn't ignore the nagging guilt that lingered in the background. Would there come a day, he wondered, when his reliance would begin to feel like a burden? Shushu's words pierced through his thoughts like a gentle yet firm reminder. In Buddhism, the idea of self-reliance is not only about independence but about reclaiming one's sense of purpose and inner strength. It's not wrong to seek or accept help from others, Shushu said, his voice steady. But the problem arises when you start to see reliance as your only option. True independence comes from recognizing your abilities and embracing the small victories in doing things for yourself. Each act of self-sufficiency, no matter how minor, is like a brick that builds the foundation of your inner confidence. Taro's thoughts drifted to the few occasions when he deliberately chose to complete tasks on his own. He remembered the pride he felt when he cooked his meal or organized his space without assistance. These weren't grand achievements, but they filled him with a quiet sense of accomplishment. Those moments reminded him of the man he used to be: capable, strong, and resourceful. He hadn't lost that part of himself. It was simply buried under years of habitually turning to others. Reducing dependence doesn't mean isolating yourself or refusing help when it's genuinely needed, Shushu continued, sensing the flicker of hesitation in Taro's expression. It means changing the way you view your relationships and responsibilities. See the people around you not as a crutch but as a supportive network. Build relationships where help is offered freely and received graciously, not as an expectation or necessity. That balance fosters peace, not only for you but also for those who care about you. Taro felt a shift in his perspective as Shushu's words settled into his heart. It wasn't about pushing his children away or carrying every burden alone. It was about rediscovering his strength and contributing to his well-being. He began to see that independence wasn't just a gift to himself, it was also a gift to those he loved. By lessening his dependence, he was allowing his children the freedom to love and help him without feeling weighed down by obligation. Shushu's wisdom flowed like a gentle stream, guiding Taro toward a deeper understanding. When you take ownership of your life, even in small ways, you are not just building independence. You are nurturing your spirit. A life lived with self-reliance is one where you can face solitude without fear, knowing that you are capable of taking care of yourself. And when you do need others, your relationships become richer because they are built on mutual support, not one-sided reliance. That is where true peace of mind begins. Taro's thoughts turned inward as he reflected on his fears. He realized that much of his anxiety about being alone stemmed from a sense of helplessness, an underlying belief that he couldn't manage without someone else. But Shushu's words lit a spark of determination within him. He began to see every small act of independence as a step toward reclaiming his dignity. Whether it was preparing his meals, organizing his daily schedule, or simply walking to the store, these acts of self-care could help him rediscover his strength. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. For Taro, this wasn't just a lesson about chores or responsibilities. It was a deeper call to reshape his mindset. He resolved to approach his life differently, not by rejecting help, but by valuing the quiet power of doing what he could for himself. He began to understand that independence wasn't about proving something to the world or even to his children. It was about proving to himself that he was still capable, valuable, and whole. At that moment, Taro felt a profound sense of clarity. Reducing dependence wasn't a loss. It was a liberation. It was an opportunity to face the future with strength, stability, and a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that by embracing this path, he wasn't just lightening the load for those around him. He was creating a life of resilience and peace, a life where he could stand tall and proud, even in his later years. 4. Cherish the present moment. Shushu leaned closer, his calm demeanor radiating a quiet wisdom that instantly put Taro at ease. Taro, he began softly, so many people spend their lives looking backward or forward, endlessly preoccupied with memories or worries. They replay past events in their minds, clinging to regrets or bittersweet nostalgia, and at the same time, they are consumed with fear of the unknown, of what tomorrow might bring. But Buddha teaches us a profound truth. Peace of mind doesn't come from solving the past or controlling the future. It comes from fully embracing the present moment. When we lose sight of that, we lose sight of life itself. Taro sat in thoughtful silence, Shushu's words touching something deep within him. He had always thought that his occasional sadness or restlessness was just a natural part of life, but now he realized that much of it stemmed from his habits. He often caught himself daydreaming about the golden days of his youth, how carefree and joyful they had been, and then snapping back to reality with a pang of longing for something he could never regain. At other times, he felt an unnamed fear creeping in, a dread of old age and the loneliness it might bring. These thoughts swirled around him, stealing his ability to fully appreciate the simple beauty of the life he was living right now. Even on days when the sky was clear and the sun bathed the world in warmth, he often felt a vague emptiness, a sense that something essential was missing. Shushu must have sensed his unease because he smiled and continued, his voice tinged with gentle reassurance. Taro, the present moment is all we truly have. The past is like a river that has already flowed downstream, and the future is a mist that has yet to take form. You cannot hold on to the water that has passed, nor can you grasp the mist. But here now, this moment, you can touch, feel, and experience fully. Even the simplest things, like the meal on your plate or the view outside your window, can become extraordinary if you take the time to truly focus on them and feel gratitude in your heart. Taro nodded, feeling a glimmer of understanding, but Shushu wasn't finished. He pointed to the garden outside, where a single flower bloomed amidst a sea of green. Take that flower, for example, he said. Most people glance at it without truly seeing it. They're too busy thinking about something else. But if you take a moment to observe it, its color, its texture, its delicate fragrance, you'll find a sense of wonder that can only be experienced in the present. This wonder, this gratitude, is what transforms ordinary moments into something deeply fulfilling. As the words sank in, Taro felt a gentle ache in his chest, as though his heart was waking up from a long slumber. He realized how much of his life he had spent rushing through moments or allowing them to slip by unnoticed. He thought about the meals he had eaten without savoring the flavors, the conversations he had half listened to while distracted, and the sunsets he had barely noticed because his mind was elsewhere. How much richness had he missed simply because he wasn't present? Shushu's voice softened even more, carrying a hint of vulnerability. Life is fleeting, Taro. We will all face moments of solitude, and we will all reach a point where we can no longer rely on others for our happiness. But that solitude doesn't have to be sorrowful. If you can cultivate the habit of living in the present with gratitude, even the quietest, most solitary moments can be filled with peace and contentment. The key is to let go of the weight of the past and the worries of the future, and to trust that the present moment, as simple as it may seem, is enough. Taro's eyes welled up with emotion. He thought about how much time he had spent carrying unnecessary burdens, regrets from the past that he couldn't change and anxieties about the future that he couldn't control. But now, he saw a way forward. Living in the present didn't mean forgetting the past or ignoring the future. It simply meant not letting it overshadow the beauty of today. It meant savoring the warmth of the sun on his face, the sound of birds singing in the distance, and even the quiet rhythm of his breathing. It meant finding joy in the little things, like a well-brewed cup of tea or the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. As Shushu's words continued to echo in his mind, Taro felt a deep sense of liberation. The idea of fully embracing the present moment wasn't just a lesson, it was a revelation. He realized that he didn't need to chase happiness or search for fulfillment in grand achievements. Those feelings were already within his reach, hidden in the small, ordinary moments of daily life. All he needed to do was pay attention. With a newfound sense of clarity, Taro turned to Shushu and said, "Living in the present. It feels like a kind of freedom, doesn't it? Like setting down a heavy bag you've been carrying for years." Shushu's eyes twinkled with approval as he nodded. "Exactly, Taro. It's a freedom that anyone can find, but it takes practice and a willingness to let go." And so, Taro made a quiet vow to himself. He would cherish the present moment, not as an obligation but as an act of self-love and gratitude for the gift of life. He would savor his meals, breathe in the beauty of nature, and allow himself to feel fully alive in the here and now. For he now understood that this simple practice, this mindful awareness, was the foundation of a rich and meaningful life, even in solitude. 5. Deepen the dialogue with oneself. Shushu's wisdom about engaging in dialogue with oneself struck Taro deeply, as if the words were seeds planted in the soil of his heart. "Taro," Shushu began, his voice calm yet filled with conviction, "so much of our lives are spent defining ourselves through others, through their words, their reactions, their expectations. We see our reflection in their eyes, and we adapt, often unconsciously, to fit the roles they assign to us. But as you grow older, the noise of the outside world begins to fade. The voices that once surrounded you may grow distant, and the busy interactions that once filled your days become sparse. This shift is not a loss to mourn, but a profound invitation, a chance to finally meet yourself. When you embrace this opportunity, solitude transforms into something sacred. It is not loneliness. It is an opportunity to delve into the depths of your being. In Buddhism, we believe that deepening the dialogue with oneself is a path to peace, clarity, and joy. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning, and Taro found himself unable to look away from Shushu's serene expression. For so long, Taro had resisted the quiet, fearing that it would consume him with sadness. He had filled his life with the vibrant noise of family, work, and social obligations, and when those faded, he had been left with silence, a silence that felt unbearable. He missed the laughter of his children echoing through the house, the shared meals, and the feeling of being needed. In the stillness, he often felt an ache, a hollow sense of being unmoored. Yet, in Shushu's words, Taro began to glimpse another way to perceive this solitude, not as an empty void, but as a canvas upon which he could paint a new understanding of himself. When we are alone, Shushu continued, we are not truly alone. Within us exists an entire universe waiting to be explored. Most people fear this exploration because it requires confronting truths they have long buried. But Taro, the dialogue you can have with yourself is not about judgment. It's about listening with kindness, observing without resistance, and discovering the beauty of who you are, beyond roles, beyond relationships, beyond expectations. Taro felt his chest tighten with emotion. He had spent so many of his solitary hours focused on what was missing. The companionship, the purpose that came from being a provider, a father, a husband. He had not considered that in those quiet hours, he had the rare chance to connect with something even more essential, his own heart. The thought was both humbling and liberating. Shushu's gentle yet powerful words began to shift something inside him. By having a true dialogue with yourself, Shushu explained, you will uncover what you truly desire. Not what society or others have told you to want, but the deep, authentic joys that are already present here and now. You will learn to listen to your inner voice, not as a critic but as a guide. This is how you nurture your heart and live richly, even without the constant presence of others. Taro thought back to the moments of silence that had once felt so heavy, so empty. Could those same moments become opportunities? He felt a flicker of hope, a warmth spreading through his chest. The idea that his existence alone could hold joy, that his worth did not depend on being needed by someone else, was new to him. And yet, as he listened to Shushu's steady voice, it began to feel not only possible but profoundly true. Turning inward, Shushu said with a serene smile, is not a retreat from life. It is an embrace of it. When you deepen the dialogue with yourself, you become your source of strength. Old age does not need to be a time of dependence or fear. It can be a time of profound self-discovery and inner richness. You no longer rely on others to carry you because you have built the resilience and joy to carry yourself. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The words resonated like a bell ringing in Taro's soul. He thought about the countless times he had looked outward for validation, for reassurance, for meaning. What if the answers had been within him all along? What if the quiet hours he once dreaded were invitations to explore the infinite richness of his spirit? Tears welled up in his eyes as he reflected on the shift happening within him. He realized how much he had taken his existence for granted, always measuring it against others' needs and expectations. For the first time, he began to feel gratitude, not for external achievements or relationships, but simply for being alive, for the chance to exist and experience the world. The loneliness that had once weighed so heavily on him now felt lighter, as if it were melting away. Shushu's final words lingered in the air like a blessing. When you truly embrace solitude, you will see that you are never alone. The richness of your heart, your thoughts, and your inner world will sustain you. And with this strength, you can find peace, not in being needed by others, but in being fully present with yourself. As Taro listened, his mind and heart quieted, and a profound sense of calm settled over him. He no longer feared the years ahead or the time he would spend in his own company. Instead, he saw them as opportunities to grow, nurture his soul, and find joy in the simplest moments. The 5 truths Shushu had shared were no longer just lessons. They were guiding lights, illuminating a path forward. And as Taro walked away from their conversation, he carried with him not just a sense of peace but a deep, unshakable belief in the richness of his existence. As we come to the end of this heartfelt journey, let's take a moment to reflect. What resonated with you the most? Was it the idea of finding peace in solitude, nurturing your heart through quiet self-dialogue, or discovering the richness within yourself? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What's one thing you've learned from this story that you'll bring into your own life? Share your insights and reflections in the comments below. We're excited to hear how these teachings have touched you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below and let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can continue spreading wisdom and positivity. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Glowing Star.